Singapore has done everything right. They have created an almost perfect and cohesive society, but they are on the wrong side of history when it comes to its stance regarding Israel and Palestine. Singapore appears to be doubling down on its friend to all but an enemy to none mantra when it comes to its ties with Israel. In February, Singapore's Education Ministry introduced lessons in schools on the war in Gaza, which the Education Minister said aims to help students understand their emotions and be emphatic toward others. But there was an immediate pushback from parents who said they were concerned the narrative was pro-Israel, since the lessons covered events as they transpired after October 7th. In an open letter to the ministry, concerned parents said students have consistently reported that the materials being taught were lacking in accurate narration of historical events. The letter cites any attempts by students to correct the misinformation has been ignored, shut down, or worse, punished. Singapore has called for an immediate ceasefire at the UN. It voted in favor of 2 General UN Assembly resolutions on the protection of civilians and upholding legal humanitarian obligations, despite allowing rallies during previous cycle of violence in 2014 between Gaza and Israel. Local authorities have rejected applications to use the Speaker's Corner, an outdoor venue for political speeches and discussions, citing public safety concerns. One reason for Singapore's cautious approach lies in the city-state's little-known military ties with Israel. When Singapore became an independent and sovereign state on August 9, 1965, it felt the need to build its defense capabilities. Singapore looked to other nations for help, seeking military advice and foreign assistance, and former Minister of Defense had approach included Egypt and India, but it was ultimately Israel that acted as an advisor. A little known fact kept hushed by design, and which came to light when Lee wrote about it in his book, From Third World to First, The Singaporean Story, published in 2000. Lee detailed how they referred to the Israelis as Mexicans in order to disguise their presence. Lee cites that an Israeli major general discreetly traveled to Singapore to understand the island country's terrain before developing a master plan known as the Brown Book, used then to train Singaporeans through a series of prep courses. In 1968, Singapore established an armored brigade, which included AMX-13 light tanks, the SAF's first tanks, following a proposal by its Israeli advisors. The next year, in May 1969, the countries officially formed diplomatic relations. This is in contrast with nations in the region, such as Malaysia, Indonesia, and Brunei, which still don't have any formal diplomatic relations with Israel. Although it had normalized relations with Tel Aviv, Singapore maintains a delicate diplomatic balance. Singapore, with a population of just over 6 million, has a demographic made up of predominantly ethnic Chinese, as well as Malay and Indian ethnic minorities. Its religious makeup is also considered one of the most diverse in the world, with religions that include Buddhism, Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Taoism, and more. Although it does not recognize Palestinian statehood, Singapore supports a 2-state solution.